Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with a new Viking Orations. Got another review for you today, and this time I'm going to be talking to you about the brand new debut EP from the band Sequestrum, entitled Pickled Preservation, out now on Extremely Rotten Productions. Now, if you're not familiar with Sequestrum, they are a death metal band from Copenhagen, Denmark, been around since 2021, featuring, and I know I'm going to butcher these names, so I apologize ahead of time, Andreas Nordgren on bass and vocals. He's actually also in the band Frenolith, Frederick Kabukaman Larson on drums and vocals, David Torterdod on guitars and vocals. He's also in Frenolith, Undergang, Wormridden, among others. And finally, Soren Willitson on guitars and vocals. He is also in the band Chaosian, I believe is how you pronounce that name. So these guys are definitely part of some killer bands outside of this one. But as I said, this is their debut EP. It is 7 tracks, just a little over 16 minutes in length. And I actually loved this band's debut demo from last year, entitled The Epitome of Putridity. So I was very anxious to hear this EP when it arrived in my inbox. And man, this thing is just sick. After a building intro with some feedback and noise and a riff that kind of sounds like, a motor revving, it kind of brought to mind the song Bad Motor Scooter from Montrose. If you've ever heard that song, they're like, brr, brr, yeah, but there's also these like really disgusting retching sounds, and then things kick into gear about a minute and 16 into the song with a really slow, heavy riff over top these kind of bubbling sounds. I don't know if it's supposed to be like, embalming fluid or what, but this has absolutely disturbing. The guitars on this thing have that heavy, dirty tone to them. You got a definite Mortician vibe to them at times, I found. Mostly mid to fast-paced riffs with some slower chugged sections thrown in here and there, and I love those kind of chuggy grooves that they settle into at times. When you get into track number 2, Preserved to Last, the section at 202, and especially the riff when at the 208 mark, that has this very corrosion of conformity feel to it. I'm thinking the song Albatross, because that song gets played a lot on the radio. I believe that same riff actually appears earlier in the song as well, but as soon as you hear it, you just really start to think of corrosion of conformity. Very organic drum production on this EP, a good snap to the snare, and I especially love the kick drums on here. He doesn't do anything overly flashy, but he does do a lot of really good blast beats on here. I definitely enjoyed his blast beats. Though at times I feel the drums get a little bit buried in the mix, under the guitars and everything else that's going on. Not often, but there's just certain times where it just feels like the drums were not coming through as good. The bass tone has that Will Romer, thick and fuzzy tone to it. It's not super high up in the mix either. Kind of tends to work with the guitars to build that wall of heaviness. But it does have its moments where it does kind of come through a little bit more. I'm thinking in particular of track number 3, Necromucophagia. God, that is a hard word to say. This track kind of allows you to really get a good idea of that tone with the intro, and I love that slow beat and double bass with the bass kind of sliding in about 4 seconds in. So you got that nice little beat, and 4 seconds in, the bass just does this slide, and then you really start getting a good idea of the tone that he has. And honestly, it seriously sounds like Mortician, especially when the guitars kick into gear with the blast beats at the 17-second mark. As soon as you hear that, it's like, man, that is so Mortician. The vocals are just absolutely disgusting. They're just a seriously disgusting mix of deep growls, retches and gurgles, as well as these nice pitch shifted vocals. It really brings to mind bands like, the County Medical Examiner, Early Ghoul, Carcass, Ambulance, bands like that. Those type of vocals, that really mixture of different kinds of vocals, but they're just absolutely sick sounding. Overall, a very short yet disgustingly heavy EP. It just feels nasty when you're listening to it. Like you need a shower after the fact, It's like every time you listen to it, and I've listened to it multiple times at work and various playlists. Despite a few moments where the drums seemed kind of buried or muffled in the mix, briefly. It's still a really good listen, and been a staple, like I said, on my playlist at work. If you like disgusting, mortician-esque, meat and potatoes death metal, excuse me, I can't talk this morning, then definitely give these guys a listen. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Go check out Sequestrum. I will be leaving a link down below so you can check this out for yourself. Pick up a copy if you so desire. And yeah, that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. And until next time, stay brutal.